Wow. Good morning. Welcome to All Souls, those who are here, those who are online from all over the country and around the world. It's just great to be together. I'm telling you, first of all, I just want to introduce you. That was Burak Gocher playing our flautist today, and he is accompanied today also by Jana McIntyre. And I just want to tell you that if you saw anybody leaving the last service, people were coming out, shaking their hands, going, wow, I don't have any words. And I said, that's the appropriate response to this music today. And I'll say no more. You'll experience it yourself. But the theme of my message is awakening through music. And it's sort of this idea that music can be a portal to awakening and to change a consciousness. And so I do want you, if you don't always do this when you come to All Souls, I want you to really tune into the music today. Close your eyes if you want, or do what you need to do to allow your spirit to just float and be taken away by the music, because the music is just really special this morning. It always is here. And we also have our adult choirs, combined adult choirs with Aaron Hawkins as our soloist, and of course Rick Fortner, who brings all these musicians and people together in choirs. Let's give a big hand for Rick Fortner, because he is, what an amazing. If you're here for the very first time, our ushers have a gift on our behalf to give to you. And if you just they're coming down the side aisles. If you just raise your hand a little bit, they'll see you and hand you a little gift on behalf of All Souls. We welcome you if you're here for the first time. And for those who are here for the first time, this is our point service. It's our humanist service every week where we invite seekers of all kinds and people where you can bring your questions and you can bring your doubts and you can bring all parts of yourself freely to this service and to this space. And so we begin all of our service here at All Souls with the words of our covenant. It's a promise that we make. This is what joins us together, since we don't have a belief system that unites us all believing and thinking the same. We have a promise that we make to each other of how we'll be together. And if you'll join me in saying it, it begins with the word love. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Welcome.
Yes, our chalice is being lit today by Richard George and Dennis Grody. Now, some of you probably know our resettlement team, in conjunction with the church renovation team, has been hard at work getting a home ready for an Afghan family who was really close to completing the process to come to the U.S. You may not have heard that because of the current immigration policies, everything has been placed on hold, including that family. Now, it's disheartening, but we're still holding on to hope. We trust in time that the family and a second family will be able to join us at some point. In the meantime, the house we've been preparing just down at the end of the parking lot, the blue-gray one that we call the Jensen Resettlement House, is ready. It's refurbished, furnished, and full of love from this community. Even though no one lives there yet, the space itself speaks to our commitment and care. Before we light our chalice this morning, we want to take a moment to give thanks to all the folks who made it possible. So many people pitched in, painting, repairing, donating, hanging art, and making sure that house was a home. Now, here are some of the folks who brought the house to life. There's John Anderson, Jared Henry, Steve Plattner, Charles Vokes, Jeff Woodard, Jeff Evans, Dimitri Sobo, Ellen Sowell, Carrie Stewart Grody, Lynn Budis, Justin Abbott, Stephen Cobb, Lori and Craig Simon, and many others. And of course, we have Dennis and Richard lighting our chalice today. But after the service today, you're invited to stop by an open house just at the end of the parking lot and to see what this community has done and prepared in making space for others. Thank you.
We light this chalice for love that heals and justice lived in daily acts, for music beyond words and welcome for the weary.
for courage to restore lives, communities, and spirits. May this flame remind us hope rises and harmony is possible.
Our story this morning is about how it happens. It's called Because by Mo Willems and illustrated by Amber Wren. And this is how it happens. Because a man named Ludwig wrote beautiful music, a man named Franz was inspired to create his own. And because many years later, people wanted to hear Franz's beautiful music, they formed an orchestra. And because a man had practiced since he was a kid, he was asked to join. And because a woman studied night and day, she too was asked to play. And because many others loved and practiced their instruments, there were enough musicians. And because someone created a poster about Franz's music, tickets were sold. And because the train conductor stopped the train at the Grand Concert Hall, the orchestra conductor arrived. And because the orchestra librarian had copies of the score, the orchestra was able to rehearse. And because workers checked the lights and the seats and swept the floors, the grand hall was ready. Because the time had come, the ushers opened the doors. And because someone's uncle caught a cold, someone's aunt had an extra ticket for someone special. Because the usher helped the aunt and her special guest, they found their seats. And because everyone was there to hear beautiful music, it was quiet. In row C, seat 14, sat the girl with the uncle's ticket. She heard the beautiful music written by the man named Franz, and it changed her. The girl was changed. From that moment on, the girl learned everything she could about music because it fed her. She soon started to write music too, because like Franz, the young woman had something to share. And over time, the young woman became very good because she worked very hard. And one night, her music was discovered because she was also very lucky. Then she was invited to perform her music at the Grand Concert Hall because so many people wanted to hear it. Her composition was dedicated to the uncle in row C, seat 14, because it was his ticket that brought her here. And that night, someone else was changed. That is how it happens. Our children and youth are invited to come to Sunday school to celebrate diversity, explore equity, and experience inclusion as we aim to spread it throughout the world.
così ardente mai ridir potrò.
Wow. Hope that music took you some special place. Someplace where we touch each other, each other's sorrows, grief, uncertainty, loss. Place of memory and hope. Place of compassion and community. Music has that special something. And so today we offer our heartfelt condolences to Mike McCreary and family on the loss of his cousin Elizabeth King, who died this past week. Condolences to Corey Smith on the loss of his aunt, Dr. Helen Holmes, who passed away yesterday morning. Today we hold space for our Jewish siblings as they observe Passover, and our Christian siblings as they observe Palm Sunday. Let's take this moment to be still, to acknowledge our shared humanity and the quiet strength that moves among us. As we enter into a moment of silence, may we hold one another with compassion and with hope.
There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic in the nation. There is wailing May the children see more clearly. May the elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty oar to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change.
So I imagine that if you're here at All Souls, you're open to change in different ways, you know. And I was the message today, really the whole service today was inspired by one of our Everywhere members who lives in Maryland, but has been an Everywhere member before we even had the Everywhere member program. But once we started to broadcast our services live stream, she found our services and started to watch, and stayed connected to us, and has just become more and more engaged and involved. And I think she might be here. Yeah, there she is, Pauline Farmer Copel, and her husband Dave is with her today, which is wonderful. Pauline's been here before. Dave, this is his first time, but thank you. And every year when we have our gala kind of fundraiser as a church, one of the things for a number of years now that I've been offering is a chance to choose a topic for a message. And so she won that at the gala this year. And so we got into long conversation online and on the phone and over Zoom about what was interesting to her and what would be an interesting thing for our congregation. So and Pauline explained to me, I didn't say this in the last service, but Pauline explained to me that she's more humanist. She's sort of humanist-oriented, very naturalistic and humanist-oriented, and she's a lover of music. And so she shared with me an inscription from the wall of the Opera House in Frankfurt, Germany, and I think this will make sense in the context of the whole message, even in a humanist service, but I think it'll make sense as we go forward. But this inscription says this: Bach gave us God's word, Mozart gave us God's laughter, Beethoven gave us God's fire, and God gave us music that we could pray without words. And I realized that, God and prayer mean different things to different people, and particularly folks who come to our humanist service especially might have sometimes a complicated relationship with those concepts. But this idea that music can be sort of a portal to a different kind of consciousness, or to a deeper way of being or seeing the world, I think is really important for us to talk about. And I realize that, we have lots of different musical tastes as well as spiritualities. And so for you might be more inspired by Taylor Swift or Pink Floyd or Kendrick Lamar or Garth Brooks or Curtis Mayfield or John Coltrane than by Bach or Beethoven. But nevertheless, the principle stays the same with regard to the way in which music can take us to some special places. So I want to begin with this quote from John O'Donohue, who wrote, "One of the lovely things about being human is that you're called in each moment to bring yourself to birth. In a certain sense, to be human is a continually unfolding event. Because we live in these physical bodies that remain largely the same over the course of most of our lives, we forget that we are emerging theaters of undiscovered territory all the time. As the earth is endless and vast and deep, so too is the human heart. Sometimes some of the magic of perception is that a tiny little change can give you a glimpse of a vast landscape that you never grasped at all. So keep in mind, you are an emerging theater of undiscovered territory. Even you, especially you, are called in each moment to bring yourself fully to birth. And he says that some of the magic of perception is that a tiny little change sometimes can give you a glimpse of a vast landscape that you never grasped before. My dear colleague, Reverend Dr. Tandeyaka, and a good friend as well, tells a story of a time when she went to hear Itzhak Perlman, the renowned violinist, in concert. And I can't tell the story as well as she does, but as I recall the story, when he first came on stage, she said, in his tuxedo, she said, she looked at him and she thought, he looks like a penguin. And then he started to play. And as she watched and she listened, she felt herself as part of the audience who were wrapped in attention. But soon, it was just her listening to him, and the audience had disappeared. Until he disappeared, and it was just her and the music. Until, she says, she disappeared into a state of pure experience. It was an unforgettable moment of transcendence, of feeling at one with all that exists, in losing oneself in the moment of beauty and possibility that no words could really describe or fully capture. So when I'm teaching the foundations class here at All Souls, I often talk about transcendentalism and love beyond belief. And when I get to this section, I talk to people about these moments of transcendence that many people have. And I ask people if they've ever had an experience like that. And, when they feel like are one with everyone, everything, or anything, that kind of thing. And people have shared with me that they have felt that singing in a choir with other people and just having a moment where all of a sudden, the difference between them and all the choir members sort of disappeared, and they just felt at one with everything and everyone. And other people have described experiences like this during lovemaking, or watching a sunset, or running a marathon, or even on a psychedelic trip, or during a Pentecostal worship service. I think one person even told me that she had one of these experiences at a Bruce Springsteen concert. Now, I'm prone to these kinds of experiences, and I think that that's one of the reasons that when I was a young adult in my early 20s, I spent 5 years traveling around the country looking for teachers who could help explain to me what is this this experience of connecting in that way that is so powerful. And one of the things that that I want to make clear about this, the people who I'm describing here, who've had these kinds of experiences, is that some of these are some of the brightest, most well-educated, most successful people I know. And I'm saying this because in our culture, since the time of the Enlightenment, there's been this elevation of the logical and the rational ways of knowing and the degradation of the more emotional or experiential ways of knowing. Writer Karen Armstrong talks a lot about this when she talks about how the Greeks, they had respect for both logos and mythos, two different ways of knowing and experiencing the world. She didn't see them in tension, but as complementary. Both logic and mythology, both thought and emotion, both head and heart. And she explains in one of her books, The Battle of God, she says, mythos and logos are complementary ways of perceiving the world. Mythos is concerned primarily with meaning and significance. And logos is concerned with objective facts and rationality. And until the 18th century, she says, both were important in the lives of Europeans. But as the age of the Enlightenment proceeded, scientific rationality and the logos way of perceiving the world gained in prominence and at the expense of the traditional mythos way of thinking. Myth was not concerned with the practical or the measurable, but with the meaningful. She reminds us that unless we find some significance in this life, we humans fall very easily into despair. Logos, or logic, though, was equally important. Logos, the rational, the pragmatic, the scientific way of thinking, enabled people to function in the world. A myth, she explains, could not tell a hunter how to kill its prey or how to organize an expedition efficiently. But it did help him to deal with his complicated emotions about the killing of animals. Logos was efficient, practical, rational, but it could not answer questions about the ultimate value of human life, nor could it help a person to manage pain and sorrow. I think we all know it. You can't reason your way out of grief or depression. Another way to say it is, if I have a heart attack, I want a doctor to use logos, right, science and technology to fix my heart. But if I have a broken heart because someone I love has died, then I need mythos to help heal my shattered heart. And so by mythos, I'm talking about things like poetry and music and art and stories. You may have heard me describe in the past how my experience of after my daughter Sienna died, people sent me, I think, every book that's been written on the topic of grief. And yet, it was when I saw the image of Michelangelo's Pietà, the statue of Mother Mary holding her dead son, Jesus' lifeless body in her arms, that I suddenly felt not so alone. To see the anguish in another parent's eyes. Without words, beyond logic, that statue communicated something to me about life and grief that I needed. Something that my rational mind could not give me. So Pauline, who I mentioned earlier, she shared with me this story about a big-time Dutch symphony conductor named Tom Koopman, who said that he is a convicted agnostic, except when he's listening to Bach's St. Matthew's Passion, and then he believes it all. Now, obviously, as an avowed agnostic, he doesn't literally believe it all. I think what he means is that in those moments, he's able to transcend his skepticism about religion and all his thoughts about it and just experience something transcendent, something larger than what he normally experiences. So I want to be clear, though, that just because something isn't rational, it doesn't mean it's automatically irrational, right? Sometimes we think there's only two. It's either rational or it's irrational. But there's a whole category of experience that is not rational, but it's not irrational. We could call it transrational. It goes beyond the rational, but it's not irrational. So let's take a piece of poetry. It strings together a sequence of words that don't often follow the rules of grammar. It rarely makes some factual argument, but it makes you feel something or imagine something. I may have never sat at the edge of a cliff crying after losing my entire family, feeling like I might just jump off. But I might read a poem by a Palestinian poet from Gaza that helps convey to me what that might feel like. It's not a rational argument that helped me understand something about that kind of inhumanity and loss. Instead, it came through art. That's transrational. That's mythos, not logos. So I have to tell you, I went to a fundamentalist worship service at the Maybe Center a few years ago, and the preacher spent the first half of his entire message explaining to us how we needed to not let our rational mind throw us off from his message. That he said, as I'm telling you this message, you're going to have thoughts in your reasoned, rational mind that you're going to tell you that I'm wrong or that, not to believe me. And I think he said that it was the devil using our minds to steal our soul or some crap like that. Now, I'm not at all suggesting anything like that. Reason is very important. It's one of the most reliable and essential ways that we know things and accomplish things. I'm not dissing reason. I'm making a case that to be the most well-rounded, balanced, and whole individuals, it helps to be fluent in both logos and mythos. It's about knowing in what situation to apply what kind of knowledge. They say that Albert Einstein was able to discover the theory of relativity because he had both the intellectual and the scientific capacity to understand it and to work out the math, but he also had the imagination to be able to conceive of something yet unknown and seemingly illogical. So why it matters to me that we all understand this is because in order to solve the intractable problems of our world, of which there are many, and of our own lives, of which there may be a lot, we need both imagination and reason. We need both the head and the heart. The Greeks had this word kairos, which was this moment of enlightenment or this moment of realization when a light bulb went off, or those moments when everything feels like it makes sense for a moment, or whatever, that sense of oneness. And it's described in many different ways by different people. In Sanskrit, they call it samadhi. In Japanese, they call it satori. In English, I'd call it love beyond belief. In this tradition, however, we don't tell anyone that they have to read the Bible or any scripture in order to achieve this kind of a state, or in order to live a life of fullness or wholeness or morality or goodness in any way. But I always tell people, if you are going to read a scripture like the Bible, don't just read it with logos. You have to read it with both logos and mythos if it's going to make any sense and be effective in any way. As I said before, I've said this before on a Sunday morning, is like when I read a story like Noah's Ark, I use both logos and mythos, because logos helps me keep it real. That this idea that two of every animal just went walking right onto a ship and lived together happily for months or years doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, just shoveling the poop alone seems like a deal breaker in that story. But when I read a story like the story of Noah, and I hear that he was out there feeling lost at sea, bewildered and tired, and it says he was out in the middle of an endless ocean with no land in sight, I have a mythos moment, like seeing the Paeta after my daughter died. I can recognize that feeling. I've felt like I'm in the middle of something hard and exhausting, and I can't see an end in sight. I don't know when or if it's going to end or what's going to happen. And then I don't feel so alone. Like that experience I'm having is so unique to me. So just a little plug for those who might be interested. So next Sunday's Easter Sunday, and so in this congregation at 10 o'clock, we're going to do the Easter service. And at 11:30 for the point, we're not going to do the Easter service. But it'll be another service inspired by the same themes of renewal and inspiration and spring and those kinds of things. But in the 10 o'clock service, where I'm going to deliver the message, I'm going to explain the resurrection through mythos. And I'm betting that it's going to make a lot more sense to a lot of people for whom they think it's just this story that it's like, why does anybody even pay attention to it? And also, I know that our choir is going to sing the Hallelujah chorus. So I told the folks at 10 o'clock, if I can't get you there, they probably will, But one of the reasons I like to teach about this subject of mythos and logos is that if you experience things like Easter only through the perspective of logos, it's like an exercise in ridiculousness. It doesn't make sense. What? This guy's like, what? But I also know that Easter experienced with the balance of logos and mythos can be one of the most extraordinary and healing experiences of the year. So I'm going to end with a poem by Billy Collins. He was the poet laureate of the United States some years ago, and it's titled Fishing on the Susquehanna in July. He writes, I have never been fishing on the Susquehanna or any river for that matter, to be perfectly honest. Not in July or any month have I had the pleasure, if it is a pleasure, of fishing on the Susquehanna. I am more likely to be found in a quiet room like this one, a painting of a woman on the wall, a bowl of tangerines on the table, trying to manufacture the sensation of fishing on the Susquehanna. There is little doubt that others have been fishing on the Susquehanna, rowing upstream in a wooden boat, sliding the oars under the water, then raising them to drip in the light. But the nearest I have ever come to fishing on the Susquehanna was one afternoon in a museum in Philadelphia when I balanced a little egg of time in front of a painting in which that river curled around a bend under a blue cloud-ruffled sky. Dense trees along the banks, and a fellow with a red bandana sitting in a small green flat-bottomed boat holding the thin whip of a pole. That is something I am unlikely ever to do, I remember saying to myself and the person next to me. Then I blinked and I moved on to other American scenes of haystacks, water whitening over rocks. Even one of a brown hair who seemed so wired with alertness, I imagined him springing right out of the frame. And so I ask you, did you go there in your mind? To any of those places he described? Did you experience being on the river or seeing a brown hair about to leap out of a painting? If you did, it was your imagination that took you there. And if we're going to find a way out of the intractable problems of our nation and our world and even our own personal lives, we need to balance the measurable with the meaningful. We will need to be conversant with matters of the mind and the heart. So today, in the Christian world, this is Palm Sunday, also called Passion Sunday, and it's thought by many to be a dress rehearsal for the coming of the kingdom of heaven. Now, I say to people, do I believe that a Galilean Jew named Jesus came riding into Jerusalem upon a donkey, dressed up like a peasant king, and turned over to oligarchs, the money changers' tables in the temple? To the cheers of the people who were watching the nation they loved being desecrated? Watching it happen and yet not knowing what to do about it? Now, I'm pretty skeptical that it literally happened. But does the idea of imagining a carpenter's son with questionable parentage from an unsophisticated rural town who had no weapons and no money and no social status could ride into the Capitol and eliminate corruption and oppression and usher in an era of love and peace among all people, once and for all? Does that make my heart sing? You bet it does. And maybe, just maybe, if we can imagine it, someday we can make it come true. Thank you.
he shall speak peace unto the heathen. He shall speak peace. He shall speak peace. Peace. He shall speak peace unto the heathen. Is the righteous Savior, and he shall speak. He shall speak peace. He shall speak peace unto the heathen. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice greatly. Rejoice greatly, daughter of Zion. Shout, daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy King cometh unto thee. Rejoice, rejoice, and shout, 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 rejoice. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shine, daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy King cometh unto thee. Behold, thy King cometh unto thee.
Wow, just amazing. You made a lot of believers in here, just at least for a few minutes, at least for a few minutes. We were like, couldn't resist. No, I love having you all here, and the music, and just stellar. Rick, I don't know how you find these incredible musicians, and they bring them here, and they're amazing. This week we give away our offering every week to different folks who are doing the good works in the world that we want to support. And today's offering is going to go to the Reed Foundation, the Reed Community Foundation, which changes the lives of children and youth here in Tulsa, in North Tulsa, and really create leaders for our city that we really need to continue to support. So please give generously in just a minute. Before that, I just want to let you know that if you're ready to join All Souls at 12:45, in about 15 minutes after this service ends, up in room 203, we have an opportunity to learn about joining and join if you're ready. So please come and do that if you're interested. Also, this Wednesday night, we have our normal Wednesday night programming. But the dinner is very special. Our green team is putting on a vegan dinner. It's going to be delicious. If you've never had really good, delicious vegan food, you've always been interested, or if you just love vegan food, you want to be here, you don't want to miss it. They're also going to put on a program about, caring for the earth. It's going to be wonderful. It's a great team. I highly recommend you support them. So just to let you know, next the next Sunday is Easter here, so we do a few things. So I want to make sure you know the schedule. We have a Tenebrae service on Friday, which is a service that goes into that's the day that they say Jesus died. So that service is very much about sorrow and grief. We create a ritual container for people to bring all of their sadness and betrayal and hard feelings so that we can kind of bring that there, and then Sunday morning come back and move into the space of renewal and rejuvenation. So that's how we do that. So this Sunday we'll have Easter at 10, next Sunday Easter at 10, and then our humanist service at 11:30. Dr. Nicole Kirk's going to be speaking and has a very inspiring message for The Point next Sunday. And we have an egg hunt for kids at 11:15 in between the services. So bring your young people. They're going to want to be hunting eggs. Our nominating committee, very expensive eggs, so the nominating committee is meeting we have 6 officer positions that are going to change over in June. So if you're interested in being on our board of trustees, or you know someone you think would be good, please talk to our nominating committee. It's Dorothy Shakota, Lisa Coates, and Greg Bledsoe, and their information is posted all around. And then also at 1 o'clock today, we're beginning a new Alzheimer's support group here at All Souls. And the first thing that we're doing is a meeting today at 1 o'clock, and it's a chance for folks to learn more about Alzheimer's. It's for people who support members in their family who have Alzheimer's. It's also for folks who are in the early stages of Alzheimer's. So please come and be a part of that and support that. And there's some food at 12:30. So if you're here and you want to just stay, get some food and stick around, please do for that. Now, as we take up our offering, listen closely to this song. You might recognize it. Look at it. Yes. Wow. Woo. Yes. Yes. I'd like to invite Pauline to come forward. Thank you for inspiring this service. I think we're all touched and moved, and I hope you'll take all the inspiration, all the good feelings, all the hope, and everything you're feeling out into this world that needs so much people who are motivated and energized and feel the possibilities of what's possible in this life and in this world. So as you go out, may your eyes see beauty, may your lips speak truth, may your heart know love, and may your hands do the good works of this world all the days of your life. And until we meet again, go and be loved and be loving.